I thought I knew what marriage meant. 3 years of building a life together of Sunday morning pancakes and shared dreams about a house with a yard. But when her family demanded she choose between them and me, when they pushed a crypto scheme I refused to touch, my wife made her choice crystal clear. She picked them. So I made mine. I filed for divorce, packed my life into boxes, and disappeared. 3 days later, she walked into an empty apartment with my keys on the counter and divorce papers where our future used to be. Before I take you through what happened, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you have ever had to choose between your self-respect and someone you loved, hit that like button and subscribe because you will understand every decision I made. Now, let me take you back to where this all started, back when I still believed love could survive anything. 4 years ago, I met Lila at a barbecue in Boulder. My buddy from work was throwing this cookout, and she showed up with a mutual friend. I remember she wore this sundress, covered in yellow flowers, and when she laughed, her whole face lit up. We spent the entire afternoon talking by the grill, and by sunset, I had her number. Lila worked as a dental hygienist at a practice downtown. She seemed grounded, normal, the kind of person who remembered your coffee order and asked about your day. We spent 6 months dating before I knew she was the one. We hiked trails in the Rocky Mountains every weekend, hit up brewery tours, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. I proposed at Red Rocks Amphitheater during sunset. Simple, romantic, just us and the view. Our wedding was small, about 50 guests at a venue in Denver. Her parents, Gerald and Patricia, seemed nice enough. Her younger brother, Tyler, was 25, worked at a car dealership, made jokes about me stealing his sister. Everything felt right. Everything felt like it was falling into place exactly how it should. The first year of marriage was everything I hoped for. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, walking distance from my job as a mechanical engineer at an aerospace company. Sunday mornings meant pancakes and terrible reality TV. We started saving for a house, talked about kids someday, made plans like couples do when they think they have forever. Lila was close with her family. Every Sunday, we drove to her parents' house in the suburbs for dinner. Gerald ran a small insurance business. Patricia stayed home after the kids grew up, spent her time gardening and in book clubs. They seemed like typical middle-class folks. I got along with them fine at first. Holiday gatherings were normal. Birthday parties were normal. Everything was normal. Until about 18 months into our marriage, when things started to shift, Gerald began talking differently at those Sunday dinners. Words like financial freedom and passive income crept into every conversation. Tyler quit his job at the dealership one day, announcing he had found a better opportunity, but staying vague about details. Patricia suddenly showed up wearing designer handbags I knew cost more than her monthly budget. They started dropping hints about investing in the future, about being smart with money, about opportunities most people were too scared to take. And every time I asked questions, Lila got defensive. The word crypto started floating around their dinner table like a ghost nobody wanted to acknowledge directly. Then came the Sunday that changed everything. We were 2 years into marriage. Gerald stood up after dessert and announced he had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to share with us. He pulled out his laptop and started showing us this presentation about a new cryptocurrency project. Guaranteed returns, he said. Early investors would see profits within months. Tyler chimed in, pulling up Instagram posts of supposed crypto millionaires on yachts. They wanted me to invest $25,000. My gut twisted immediately. I have an engineering background. I understand numbers, systems, how things work. This presentation had more red flags than a communist parade. But I stayed polite. I said I would research it first, think it over. The temperature in that room dropped 10 degrees. I saw disappointment flash across Lila's face. We drove home in complete silence that night, and I felt the first real crack in our marriage foundation. I spent the next 3 nights after work researching everything I could find about their cryptocurrency project. What I discovered made my blood run cold. There was no legitimate blockchain, no white paper, no registration with the Securities and Exchange Commission. When I dug deeper into Reddit threads and crypto forums, I found dozens of posts warning about similar schemes. Classic pyramid structure. Recruit others, promise unrealistic returns that mathematically cannot sustain collapse when new money stops flowing in. The worst part was realizing Gerald and Tyler had already recruited people. Neighbors, friends from Patricia's book club, They were in deep spreading this thing like a virus through their social circle. Either they were running a scam or they had been fooled so completely they could not see the truth. Neither option was good. Friday night, I sat Lila down at our kitchen table. I printed out everything. Regulatory warnings, forum posts from people who lost their savings in identical schemes, articles explaining why the promised returns were mathematically impossible. I stayed calm. I used facts. I showed her documentation. She got defensive immediately. "You do not understand new technology," she said. "You are too conservative. You are scared of taking risks." I kept my voice level. I explained this was not about being afraid. This was about protecting us from financial disaster. I showed her the math. I showed her the collapse schemes that used identical language. Then she said the words that cut deeper than I expected. "You are calling my family scammers." Her voice shook. Her eyes filled with tears. I tried to clarify. "I think they have been fooled too," I said. "I think they are victims who do not realize they are recruiting more victims." But Lila could not hear it. She could not separate criticism of the scheme from criticism of her family. She grabbed her phone and called her mother right there in front of me. She walked into our bedroom and I heard her crying, telling Patricia that I was not being supportive, that I was attacking them. I sat alone at the kitchen table looking at all my research, feeling my marriage crumble over printouts and cryptocurrency warnings. The next morning Gerald called. His voice was hard. "We need a family meeting," he said. "Not a request, a demand." Lila and I drove to her parents' house that afternoon in tense silence. When we arrived, the entire family was waiting. Gerald, Patricia, Tyler. Even Patricia's sister Linda was there for backup. They sat me down like an intervention. Gerald did most of the talking. He said they did not appreciate me poisoning Lila's mind. He called me negative, risk-averse, too conventional to understand modern investing. Tyler jumped in, accusing me of being scared of success. Patricia cried, saying I was tearing the family apart. Aunt Linda shared her supposed earnings. $15,000 in just 2 months, she claimed. I knew it was fabricated. I knew she was either lying or showing numbers from recruiting fees, not actual returns, but they all nodded along like she had discovered gold. Then Gerald delivered the punch. "If you love Lila, you will trust us. If you are really family, you will join us in this. Otherwise, what does that say about you?" He leaned forward. "Then you are not really family." I looked at Lila, waiting for her to defend me, waiting for her to defend us. She sat there, eyes fixed on the carpet, saying absolutely nothing. In that moment I understood. She had already chosen. I was sitting in a room full of people who saw me as an obstacle, and my wife would not even look at me. I stood up calmly. "I am not investing," I said. "I will not put our financial future at risk for something I know will collapse." Gerald's face went red. Patricia gasped like I had cursed. Tyler muttered something about me being pathetic. I walked out of that house with Lila, following silently behind me. The next 2 weeks were a cold war. Lila barely spoke to me. She spent every evening on the phone with her family. I heard them coaching her through the walls, feeding her arguments to convince me. She started sleeping in the guest bedroom. Sunday dinners continued, but suddenly I was not invited. The message was clear. I tried reaching out. I bought flowers. I picked up her favorite Thai food. I suggested watching movies together. Every attempt bounced off her like I was invisible. Finally, one night I asked her directly, "Does any of this matter if I do not support your family's investment?" She looked at me with exhausted eyes. "None of this matters if you do not support my family," she said. "Not investment, family." She had conflated the two completely. I lay awake that night realizing my marriage was ending, not because we fell out of love, not because of infidelity or major betrayal, but because Lila valued her family's approval more than our partnership, and I was not willing to sacrifice my integrity or our financial stability to buy that approval. 3 weeks after that horrible family meeting on a Saturday morning, Lila announced her family was coming over for a serious conversation. I felt ambushed in my own home. I did not invite them. I did not want them there. But Gerald, Patricia, and Tyler showed up anyway and sat on our couch like they owned the place. Gerald wasted no time. "Lila has to choose between us and you," he said flatly. "We have given her everything. We raised her. We know what is best for her. You are dividing this family with your negativity." Patricia added that a real husband would support his wife's family, unconditionally. Tyler smirked from the corner, arms crossed, looking at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. I turned to Lila, waiting for her to shut this down, waiting for her to tell them this was insane. She stared at her hands. The silence stretched so long I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Then she spoke, voice shaking. "Sebastian, maybe you should leave for a few days. I need time to think." The words landed like a punch. My own wife was asking me to leave our apartment so she could think about choosing between her family and me. The family that was clearly running or falling for a financial scam. The family that had turned our marriage into a hostage negotiation. Something inside me went very cold and very clear. I stood up without a word. "Take all the time you need," I said. I walked into our bedroom, pulled out a backpack, and filled it with basics. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop. The family watched in silence as I walked to the door. I looked back once at Lila. She would not meet my eyes. I drove straight to the Holiday Inn near my workplace and checked in. The first night was rage. Pure, burning rage at the manipulation, at the betrayal, at Lila's weakness. The second night was grief, crying in a hotel room, mourning a marriage I thought was stronger than this. But by Sunday morning, the grief hardened into something else. Determination. I called my older brother Marcus in Seattle. I told him everything. His response was immediate. "Protect yourself." She made her choice. Get a lawyer. Do not wait for her to figure it out. Monday morning, I took a personal day from work. I met with a divorce attorney named Ruth Davidson. She was experienced, direct, no nonsense. She listened to my story without judgment. "Can you document any of this?" she asked. I showed her text messages. I played her a recording I had made of the family meeting on my phone. Colorado is a one-party consent state. I had every right to record a conversation I was part of. Ruth nodded. "File first," she said. "Protect your assets. Document everything." Monday afternoon, I filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Tuesday, I went apartment hunting. I found a one-bedroom place in Capitol Hill, smaller than what Lila and I shared. But it was mine. A fresh start. No ghosts. I signed the lease immediately. Wednesday, I rented a moving truck and called 2 guys from work who owed me favors. Then I got the text that gave me my window. Lila said she was staying at her parents' house through Thursday to clear her head. 3 days. I had 3 days. Thursday morning, I called in sick. By 8 in the morning, I was at our apartment with the moving truck. I worked systematically. Every item that was mine went into boxes. My clothes, my books, my desk, my tools from the garage, the gaming console, my vinyl record collection, the framed photos of my own family. I took half the kitchen items we had bought together, the ones I actually used. I left everything that was hers or gifts from her family untouched. The coffee maker came with me. We had picked it out together on a Saturday morning at Target, arguing playfully about features we did not need. Small victory, maybe petty, but it was mine. By 2 in the afternoon, the apartment looked noticeably emptier, but not destroyed. I did not trash anything. I did not leave angry messages on the walls.